Hey guys, my name is Khaled Ahmed with the KINETIQ team, and today I'm going to be talking about another very common problem that we see among the manufacturing firms we've worked with, and it's all about the challenge of managing supplier performance and reliability. Now, just remember, of course, that supplier problems don't just stay in procurement, although those folks are the people who are responsible for managing it. It impacts everyone throughout the chain, and what we're going to talk about is how we can take different data points and bring them together from across your operation to empower the procurement teams to make better supplier management decisions, mitigate risks before they happen, and work to avoid supplier disruptions. So one common supplier problem that we see is that procurement gets a late delivery notification, or in many cases they don't get a notification at all, and the planning team has to scramble to resequence around the missing components. Operations teams, of course, have to work around the gap, either with overtime, production schedule changes, or with partial builds, or all three. And the customer ends up getting a late shipment notification, a short order, or a bad phone call from you, and that's never a fun call to have. So the cost of such an issue compounds at every step, and the warning signs are often visible before it happens. So we want to talk about where you can assemble that data and put it together. And you have the warning signs in your data because you have your purchase order and receipt data. You can understand, what is the timing around your receipts and look at those delivery trends over the last 60 to 90 days. You can understand what reject rates you have in your incoming inspection results and see if those have been creeping up over time. You can look at QMS data and tie back quality issues to the batches and components from which suppliers they came. You can also look into lead time variability to understand why windows are widening and which ones haven't really caught the team's attention yet. And one of the biggest ones that we see is mapping those performance metrics for each supplier versus your supplier concentration. So you want to look at which of your suppliers touch your most critical components that serve your most important customers, and then map that and overlay it onto which ones are not meeting your performance expectations. Wherever you see that overlay of a highly critical supplier, and based on this composite metric we're talking about, and a high concentration of risk to them, that's a cue to your team, to the procurement team, to work on dual sourcing or finding alternative ways to manage that risk. So none of this is missing data that you don't have. It's just never been connected for most organizations in a picture in a way that people can act on it. So what changes when folks do connect this data and they are able to assemble the right picture? Number one, and most obviously, they have an early warning. They can see a deteriorating supplier trend surface weeks before common issues might happen. They can also, number two, identify where they have risks, especially with the suppliers that have the highest impact to or potential impact to your OTIF, and can be ranked against their performance. That's that overlay we spoke about in the last section. You can identify the root cause of quality failures and tie them back to specific suppliers. You can also identify in your planning cycle what supply risk might be impacting your production schedule before you have to resequence. So having that data at your fingertip and having it early is better than sort of being forced to resequence mid-shift or mid-week. And finally, the procurement intelligence can be provided to the team on a scorecard basis so they can actually have data-informed decisions with their suppliers, as opposed to just a quarterly review without sort of information at their fingertips. So the idea is that you take your team on a journey and you're going from reactive management to proactive control. Your supplier reviews are backed by, those conversations are backed by data, not just memory. You can prioritize risks. The procurement folks can focus on their attention where there is concentration and performance risk overlapped. You can intervene earlier when trends are visible early enough. You can identify when it's important to dual source, adjust your lead time expectations, or build a buffer, build some safety stock wherever that makes sense. And then you can also have a very clear conversation about your portfolio management and see where your supplier dependency creates business risk, and you have the basis with which to do something about it. So the way we like to work with folks in this situation to get them the best out of their supplier data is we start with a blueprint, and it's all about a focused diagnostic. We identify where that supplier risk is creating the biggest exposure for your operation. We quantify that impact, and we define and architect what a solution would look like to stitch that data together for you. Beauty of this path is when you have that blueprint, there's no commit to build until you have the business case for it. So if this sounds like you or the type of issue that you and your team are dealing with, by all means, check out the QR code at the top and get in touch with the team.